Make sure I got everything at my disposal here. This is like a record for me. 2 guests in a row on the Thursday podcast. All right. Are we ready? Yeah. Hey, what's going on? It's Bill Burr. It's time for the Thursday afternoon, just before Friday, Monday morning podcast. And I'm just checking in on you. What's going on? How are you? How's your week going? That's wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Well, once again, 2 weeks in a row, we have a special guest in studio. This is the one and only comic legend Rich Shydner, who has a new book he's here to plug that I actually got a couple months ago, but my wife is so goddamn pregnant, I've only been able to read bits and pieces of it. I read all of I Killed in 2006. He's got a book called Kicking Through the Ashes, My Life as a Stand-Up in the 1980s Comedy Boom, which personally is my favorite era because I watched all of it. And that was and that made me want to be a comedian and all that. So, Rich, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Bill.
I got to ask. So, what year did you start officially as a comedian? Because everybody always has their Well, I did 2 open mics, and I went to college for a semester. People always try to delay when they start. So I really only been doing it 6 months. They're like fucking 52. So when is your official?
January '77.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Washington, D.C., there were no comedy clubs.
I was going to say, where was there to gig?
Yeah, it was a friend of mine. I was funny, and he said, "You're funny. You got to do this." I don't even know if we knew it called stand-up. He said, "Going to take you down. We can do this. You can do it. The comedy at this place."
And you were in law school?
I was in law school.
Okay.
And it was Iguana Coffee House. It was just this basement in a church. One of those all talent nights.
Right.
And I followed a poet. I still have the tape. Because my buddy
you had the tape of that?
Yeah, I have the tape. The guy,
audio, video?
Audio, just audio. Just
wow.
His big black box cassettes, like a shoebox size cassette player,
right?
Recorder, and the poet, his last line was, "Like the mango, we are ripe for the revolution."
Oh God!
Right?
He was like a decade too late, huh?
Exactly. Way ahead on mango. Nobody's talking mango in '77.
Right.
But you're right, way behind.
Yeah, the Vietnam was over, war was over, and he was still trying to do that shit.
Yeah.
So when you guys went, that was what fascinated me back then, because it's because of you guys that there was a comedy club. Your whole generation is the reason why there's a comedy club scene. And I've always read stuff about Jay Leno, and it was just like, and he'd be like, I'd go down to the combat zone, which is where the red light district where Boston used to be, and you go on between strippers and
Anywhere. This guy, Howard Vine, who took me out the first time, he was like my unofficial. He says, I found another place, like a talent night called the Gay Cabaret. And we just thought like Gay Cabaret, like the Flintstones. This was '77, man. The closet was packed.
Yeah.
It was packed. There was nobody out of the closet except by overpopulation pushed out,
Right.
So we could end there, and it was, it was a gay club. And the guy was like, really nice. Hey, fellas, it's normally great. It's open talent night, but this is ladies' night. Once a month we have ladies' night. And again, we're so clueless, we don't get it. We're like, ladies' night, fantastic, man.
I still don't get it. What does that mean?
It was lesbians.
Bottoms?
It was lesbians.
Oh.
It was all lesbians.
I thought you meant bottoms.
Yeah.
Ladies' nights.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I go out in front of this lesbian crowd. I mean, I'm the reason they're there to get away from guys like me.
How did it go?
I'm just a swing. Oh, my God. I mean, you know what I mean. Chill, freezing, cold. I mean, a woman took me off stage, finally. I got one line. My buddy told me, he said, you said I guess I'm your worst nightmare or something, and got a kind of a laugh. But how stupid you are. I thought, that's encouragement to do more instead of take that as your exit.
Yeah, as a cue that we didn't come here for this.
Yeah, you're done.
Wow.
And the woman just walked up on stage, took me by the arm, and led me off. Led me off. Just like a mercy killing.
I've had that. When I started out, I had a gig, and I didn't know it was a gay club. I just got a gig. The fucking guy didn't tell me. The place was called Queen of Hearts. And what killed me was it was only a couple of towns over from where I lived. And and that was still, it was the 80s, it was early 90s. That was still totally not accepted. There was no, I guess Billy Crystal was the only guy who played a gay character, and that whole thing just went away. So when I found out, I was all paranoid. My truck's out there. I was all homophobic. Everyone think I'm out here sucking dick, right? So I went there, and I was wearing my college sweatshirt, came walking in like a 23, 24-year-old, and I walked by this guy, and I forget what the hell he said. He just said oh my God, my fantasy or something like that. And I was just wow, that was really forward. So I went down to the end of the bar, and one of the women I was working with, I was I walked in, she goes, hey, Bill, how you doing? I said, good. I said, hey, that guy down the end of the bar, I go, he's a little happy. She goes, what? I go, the guy. I go, down the end of the bar. He goes, I go, he's a little happy. And she finally got it. She goes, Bill, everybody's a little happy here. She goes, this is a gay bar. And then I looked around. I was like, oh, shit. I was totally freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
But then, by the time I got to New York, I was just like, you start broadening your horizons. You don't give a shit. But so you started out there. So what made it blow up the way it did, that all of a sudden there was just, you could, instead of having to go on after a poet or a stripper or whatever you had to do, like I was always interested, like what years did all of a sudden...
All these scenes started. All these independent, like Boston had a comedy scene, right? The Ding Ho, those guys. There's Lenny Clark and Barry Crimmins. And there was a scene up there. There was a scene in Washington, D.C. We found this bar. This guy started doing comedy at this bar. So Louis Black, myself, Kevin Rooney, Ron Zimmerman, all these guys showed up to start doing stand-up at this little bar in Southeast Anacostia.
And it was, and the fact that it was stand-up exclusively must have been like, wow.
Oh yeah. It became packed immediately. It became like wild immediately. And there was a scene in San Francisco with the Holy City Zoo and that comedy scene. There was one in Houston at a comedy workshop with Hicks and Kennison, and those guys were starting out.
Now, did L.A., because I know Dangerfields was around since like the 60s, so like New York and L.A. actually had
They had
club?
scenes. Like I was doing it for like a year or so, and a friend of mine said, she goes, there are comics like you doing this up in New York City. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, they're comedy clubs. So she took me up there, and there were, the Improv, the Comic Strip, and Catch a Rising Star. But I didn't know about it until I went up there.
That's so fascinating because like there's no internet.
There was no internet. Nobody
way.
knew anything. Like this guy comes in one night, comes into El Brookman's, like around, and he walks up to me. He goes, "Hey, I want to do some stand-up comedy." I said, "Yeah." At the end of the show, we like put guys on. No, I'm a comic out in San Francisco. We're doing like this out in San Francisco. I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I got a place, the Holy City Zoo." His name was Tony DePaul, and he was running the Holy City Zoo. So he told me, "You got to come out here, man. We're doing this out there too." And I was like, "What? People are doing this?" You didn't think like other people are doing it. We're just doing it, and you don't know. Nobody was talking. There was a scene in Philly. There were about 6 or 7 cities that had scenes percolating.
So how did those guys back in the day, like if they had to do way back to like Ed Sullivan, like how did you put your set together? I know those guys did Vegas and they did casinos. I guess you just had to be based in New York or L.A. to get stage time to actually...
But those guys, they didn't. There were places all over. There were, the nightclubs started happening right after World War I when
supper clubs and stuff?
Right. They started doing the speakeasies and all when Prohibition came in. So the comics moved in, out of vaudeville, started moving into these nightclubs to make real money. Right. So that's where it started. So there were always, back in the 50s and 60s, they called them the toilets where these guys would train. They go, you go to work the toilets, a little bar out in Jersey to do a little comedy, a little show. You'd be part of a show. There's a singer and a
dancer,
comic. Right. It wasn't exclusively comedy. Like Dangerfields wasn't exclusively stand-up. Dangerfields had singers and stand-ups and all. So they were
they still got the piano. They haven't changed shit
there. Hell no, man. No.
So what year so then I guess imagine as the supper club started to go away, then your guys' scene created the comedy club.
That's right. So my generation, they weren't going out to the dinner clubs, going out and have a dinner and see a show. Nobody was doing it anymore. That was out. You don't get dressed up as old people stuff. So we were in rock concerts. So then that kind of like started fading, right? You get a little older, you want to date, you just can't go date. So everybody's kind of looking for the next thing. And it happened. Like some guy opens up a comedy club. There were 3 paying comedy clubs out here in the late 70s in California. Mm-hmm. There was Mitzi opened a place down in Pacific Beach in 76 and moved over into La Jolla 77. Then there was a guy, Mike Calley, opened up a place, the Laugh Stop down in Newport Beach. And then Mike Lacey, which you've been down to Comedy Magic Club down in Hermosa Beach in 78. They were the first 3 paying. They'd bring comics in from L.A. and pay them $200.
Wow.
And then Garvin's in Washington, D.C. opened in 79. January 79, started paying comics from New York to come down and do it.
So at this point, you've been doing it like 2 years.
I've been doing it 2 years, and I became an MC there. And that's why I met all those comics. I started working with Seinfeld and Bill Maher and Overton and all those comics.
At what point did you start to sense like, wow, man, like I sort of jumped into this thing that has just taken off? Like what point did it really seem like this, like the sky's the limit? It was almost like a real estate boom.
Yeah. I didn't, it took me a while. I mean, you got sucked into it. We weren't making money. Mm-hmm. Like the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale opened like January or so of 80. I remember going down there and I'm working with my first wife, Carol Leifer, and Joe Bolster and Mark Schiff and Kelly Rogers. And Kelly pulls me over in a comedy condo, right? Like the first comedy condo.
So
he's got a phone. It's clean. And it's got a phone. It's got a phone inside.
Wow.
It's got a phone. And he goes, hey, he's got the phone. He goes, come here. And he goes, whatever this guy says you can do tell him you can do it. If he asks whatever he asks, tell him you can do it. So I go on the phone, guy goes, hey, I just opened up this club in Ottawa, Canada. I need a guy who can go do 2 45-minute sets. Can you do 2 separate 45-minute shows? I go, oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I hang up the phone and go, Kelly, I got like a half hour if they buy everything. Yeah. If they take everything.
I'm killing.
Right. I'm killing everything. He says, don't worry, you'll do it. Go do it. So I go up there. I do it a week, right? You know, my strategy was do all the material.
Why did you need 2?
Because they had the same crowd. He didn't. It was a big bar. It was just a big bar. These comedy rooms at first wasn't like they set up, oh, we're going to be, you know, we're opening up a new club. We're going to build this club. There was a rock bar. He wasn't getting a lot of business in the rock bar. I don't know where he got the idea. He said, I'm going to do comedy. Right? So twice a month he was doing comedy. Brought a comedian in.
So I'm going to guess what happened. Because they don't really pay attention to how long you're up there. It's just how well you're doing. Did you pull up short on your sets, or did you do?
Do you think
40?
I was counting back then, man?
I know.
I'm drinking shots. I'm trying to come up with. I'm smoking weed between the sets, trying to come up with new. You know, I'm just up there doing whatever I can do to try to. You know what I mean? I did all the material I could do. I had up front, and then just ran around the room like Jerry Lewis. You know, like I was out of my mind.
Wow.
You know,
did you save a bit for the end to close?
I didn't have any thoughts about saving bits. I didn't have any thought about closer, opener. It's like just funny and hold them. Just hold the stage.
And you pulled it off.
I pulled it off. So at the end of the week, the guy goes, he's paying me. He goes, this was great, man. It was like a weekend, you know, like 3 days or something. He said, the guy's on the phone, wants to talk to you. I pick up the phone. This guy goes, I got a club in Montreal. I heard you're great. You want to come down here? When? Now. Come on over. Just come over now. And I did the next week in Montreal. And then he puts me on the phone with Mark from Yuck Yucks, Breslin, from Mark Breslin from Yuck Yucks. Same thing. I went right to Breslin in Toronto. So I went out there and I did 3 weeks in a row. And I came back. I'm a headliner. I thought, I'm a headliner.
Wow.
I didn't even know what it was. But I'm like,
was that 2-3 years in?
It was like in 1980. So I'm like 3 years in. But I was opening up for a lot of rock bands.
Was it at that point you could quit your day job?
I didn't have a day job. My last day job was about then, because my last day job was working in New York City. I was cleaning out apartments for the mob. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing.
Cleaning them out? What?
Downtown.
Stacks got shot for not returning the fucking truck. What would you?
Yeah, you don't remember this, but 77 on that era. My first apartment was in a base. It wasn't even a real apartment. It was just up some walls thrown up. It was every other building was abandoned. Squatters everywhere.
Oh, that's when it was
down at East
Village.
Village.
Bankrupt.
Right, it's bankrupt.
De Niro and Taxi era.
Exactly. So they start selling buildings for $1, but you had to promise to rehab the building within a year to turn it into a rental property.
Oh my God!
Right. So,
dude, $10.
So
you'd be set for. Well, but you had to fix them up.
Right. You had to fix them up. So I'm having a hard time paying the rent. So the landlord goes, hey, man, can you do carpentry work? And I go, yeah, I can do carpentry work. He says, go over there and help these guys.
How much of your life has been like, yeah, I can do that, and just fucking showing up and running around like Jerry Lewis? That's amazing. So you say, yeah, and then
so
what
I
do you
show
do?
up, I go over there, these guys are New York guys. They figure out in 3 seconds I can't really do carpentry, but I'm an okay guy. You know, get some cigarettes and beer. Go get some cigarettes and beer for us. You know, go do this, go do that. You know, I'm gophering for them.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the guy goes, yeah, you can't do carpentry, but can you clean out an apartment? I go, well, yeah, I can. You know, my family's built on manual labor, man. That's how we stayed on the planet, manual labor.
Right.
So I show up the next morning. There's 3 young Italian guys. I didn't even know. They're standing outside the building. They're passing around a half pint. You know, they go, hey, you ready? I go, yeah, I'm the new guy. Yeah, okay, let's go. We're throwing squatters out. We're cleaning out apartments.
Oh, God.
We're throwing people out of apartments. You know, we're going into the shooting galleries, man. People are shooting up. We're throwing stuff out the windows. We're hustling people out.
Well, shit.
$5 an hour.
Break. $5 an hour.
Under the table, $5 an hour.
To throw people out on the street. Now, break down the whole emotion of that. You walk up to the door. Is it unlocked? Is it locked?
Yeah, you walk up the door. And I'd been in a squatter place when I first moved up there, so I kind of understood it, you know. But you see it, like extension cables running them from building to building. They were, just stealing electricity from everywhere.
I don't know how to back up with your life. So how the fuck did you? So you go up there. You lived in a squatter building.
When I first,
how does that go down?
No, that was 74. When I went to New York in 74, but I had no plan.
And you had no money, and then you just see an abandoned building. You walk in there. There's other people in there.
Yeah, a guy was
like Escape from New York. It was people crawling up out of manholes.
Yeah, people. They'd get a building. They'd own it. You see locks on the outside of the door. There were no locks like a key lock. Right. The guy would have a padlock, a padlock, right? That's how he got in and get out. And then he'd lock inside. He'd have bolts and lock the inside. And they'd have electricity stealing from one building or another building, whatever. They were running cables, and some places had no electricity. They were just
I'm
candles.
sure that wasn't a fire hazard. I love
No.
that there's some guy that actually could be working as an electrician, but is deciding to live for free in this fucking building. People are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
All right, so now you're on the other side, okay? The fucking student has become the master. Now you're going to throw someone out like yourself because you weren't on drugs. But so what was that? People crying, screaming, fighting.
No, people were like, okay, cool, because they'd gotten notice. It wasn't like surprise. They ignored notice. They put notice. This building has been bought, and you got to leave, evacuate, or get out, whatever it is, and they were ignoring it. And so some people were cool. Okay, we're going. Some people they kicked indoors. We go running in. We throwing their stuff out the windows.
Right.
It was wild.
But where there's so many abandoned buildings, and they'd be like, all right, fuck it, I'll just grab my shit and just go down the street and around the corner. I'll have another one.
Yeah, I don't know what their attitude was. I mean, I didn't really care. I mean, it was pretty hectic. It was pretty...
Did you have to physically...
There were a couple times we had to, fight off people or push them around.
But you had
These
the
guys
mob
were rough. These guys
yeah.
were rough. They were young and rough, man.
Oh, okay. Did they have the Joe Pesci shiny suits and shit?
No.
I watched too many mob movies.
They were
suits.
They were dressed and ready for business.
Oh, the 3/4 leather, the classic 3/4 leather that every jerk off like me wore, and I was not that guy, man. Wow, that's fucking amazing. So, I don't want to spend too much on your past because we're here to I mean, we're definitely going to go back because I'm a geek for all of this shit, but. Let's talk about the presence here. You're kicking through the ashes. The parts that I read, what I loved about it is you do not sugarcoat any, like what happened, the odds of you making it, anything. It was really kind of like you just kind of laid it out there.
Yeah.
Like how do, I know you've done books in the past and stuff, and how did this whole thing I mean, it had to be through just telling stories to guys like me, knowing how interested I am in this shit.
You tell these stories for years. You tell these stories. And sometimes I'd hear stories come back and go, well, that's my story. That's not how it went. You tell a story or whatever, like the Ollie Joe Prater story. I'd hear stories like that come back.
Let me hear that one, because I've always seen his. Now, for you guys listening, he's a legendary comic from the Comedy Store, I believe.
Yeah.
Had a cowboy hat and a beard.
You're right. He was doing the Larry the Cable Guy sort of country western comic before...
And I always read his first name is Oily because I have like a learning disability or I'm just a moron. And then someone finally said the name. I'm like, oh shit, that's how you say his name. So that guy,
Gilbert Herzog was his real name.
Gilbert Herzog.
Herzog.
And he went by
Ollie Joe Prater.
Ollie Joe Prater.
And he looked like Yosemite Sam. He was a short guy. He was heavy. He had cowboy boots, a cowboy hat. He looked like a cartoon character.
Right.
And he was a classic. See, back when these clubs started popping, the places were packed. They didn't need guys to draw. They had packed. They wanted guys to sell alcohol. We were liquor pimps, Who sold the most? And Ollie Joe would drink on stage, and so the crowd would drink with him.
What would they pay you guys back then to headline?
It started escalating fast. I mean, you first go out, they go, it's $800 a week, and then they want you back. We want you back. Well, these other clubs want you. So they just, we'll pay you twice.
That went up by about $400 20 years later when I started. That's what I loved in New York when we almost had that strike. It was $50 for a weekend spot for like 20, 30 years. $50, and everything else up. All the club owners were multi-millionaires, and finally we're like, what the fuck? And we asked for 100, just knowing that we get like 75, and they completely freaked out. But anyways, getting back to that.
No, it started escalating fast. But guys like Ollie Joe were, he was a real, he sold, you'd come in, they go, Ollie Joe just sold like $13,000 worth of liquor last week.
And what was his style? Was it sort of
he was like, I'm there, boy, I tell you what.
Larry the Cable Guy, Foxworthy?
No, he was blue. He was blue, and
okay.
he was, he would chug a beer. He'd start his act by just like chugging a beer and going, and then he'd belch. And he'd go, that's everything I learned in college.
Oh, Jesus. So he set the tone early.
He set the tone.
I would not want to follow that guy today.
No, he was, and he literally took anybody's act. I mean, there was an old line, I don't know whose line this was, but somebody once says, if Ollie Joe came up and bought you a beer, that means he just did one of your jokes.
Wow.
If Ollie Joe shared a joint with you, he did a couple of your jokes. If Ollie Joe laid out a line of Coke for you, you just played Cleveland.
Yeah.
He didn't care.
And it seemed like back then, like certainly through like vaudeville, like people just taking other people's shit, it was always seemed annoying. But like it wasn't like the way it is now, where it's just like it's like that, post 9/11. Like why are you being hostile? Like I remember seeing George Burns one time on 60 Minutes or something, and he said, I used to do this bit, blah 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 blah. He tells the joke. He goes, he goes, yeah, I mean, it's not a great joke. I don't think Milty would steal it. And like he threw that out there on TV, and I was just thinking like, oh, he's just ribbing him. Then years later, when I became a comedian, I was just like, wow, like he really meant something by that, and that guy must have been, at least fucked with his act on some level. That that George Burns is on 60 Minutes and fucking calls somebody out for taking his shit. So
yeah, but it didn't matter to him like it does now. See, it did not. See, Milton owned that. They used to call him the thief of bad gags. He owned it. He was like, I didn't steal this one, or I stole that one, or they didn't care like we did.
Right.
They did worry about stealing their acts back in vaudeville. They used to. The only way to like prevent it was they would pay stagehands to protect their acts. So if you came in, and I just played there, and then you came in, you started doing my bits, sandbag drops near you.
Oh shit!
They would like give you a warning. They get like a heavy warning. But then, see, that era...
The shit you could get away with before cell phone cameras and stuff. You could literally deliberately drop it on the guy's head. He dies. Oh, we know what happened to him. He never showed up. He's fucking underneath the stage. Wow.
It changed in Lenny Bruce's time. See, before that, the comics were just kind of shtick, and so you do some shtick, and people were buying jokes and selling jokes, and they were pretty interchangeable.
I just flew in from California. Boy, my arm's tired. It was just all shit like that.
Yeah, it didn't matter. So when Lenny and those guys started making what the comics said was important, it became artful, and it mattered, and you became tied to material. Mm-hmm. So, like, what you said mattered, and people wanted to believe that was really you.
Right.
That was really your opinion. That was really your life. Then it mattered. Then you started taking things, and it mattered.
Okay, so when you come along, I mean, that's 25 years after Lenny Bruce. The thing that it didn't matter with you guys was because there's no YouTube, there's none of that shit, and you guys are just going up after poets and strippers and stuff.
Well,
so
yeah, once I got into...
Just go up and survive, or...
Yeah, but once I fucking got into business, it mattered. It started mattering. But, there were so few comics, we could police the community ourselves.
Right.
That's the difference. Like a guy became a thief, he doesn't get to work the clubs. He doesn't get to work the A rooms.
It was like when I started in Boston, dude. If you went over your time, and by over your time, like we told you to do 25 minutes, you did 28. 28, like you were in the fucking doghouse. Like, dude, you did 3 extra minutes. Like it was such a huge thing. And forget about stealing jokes. Like I'm so fortunate that I started in Boston, and all those ding-ho guys so set the bar so high that if you were any hack, if you were any derivative, they'd let you go for 2-3 years. You're influenced by Gav or Sweeney or Noxie or something. But then after that, it was just like, dude, you need to come up with your own shit. And it was one of those things, Boston's an unforgiving place. So it's just once you were labeled, you had to leave. So
see, that's it. That's it. You got trained. There's nobody doing the training anymore, but you got trained. And that's how they did it in vaudeville, too. The same sort of things, man. They trained you. They trained. The guys would be coming up. You'd have to learn to do it the right way, or you wouldn't get any time.
What was the first, real comedy club, not going up to Ottawa, but, you felt like when did all, those A rooms start coming up? Like the Punchlines, the...
Punchlines started around 82. They all started, there's some great rooms that started. But a lot of these rooms, they started... I wrote it in the book. There was one you're going up to Minneapolis to play a room. I'm going to play a place called Mickey Finn's. Now, a lot of these rooms were they just threw them together. Right. So I get out there, and, I felt like the gunslinger. I come into town. I'm like one of the first acts they bring in. I'm from New York. I see all those guys, Jeff Cesario, Louis Anderson, they're all standing in the back. Wild Bill Bauer, they're all standing in the back. I said, I knew those are local comics. They're
those guys were all from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they're all in the back of the room. They're all standing. I could see them. You pin them. You go, there they are. There they are. They're here to check me out.
Right.
I said, I'm going to hit that stage, man. I'm going to let them know I'm here, man. I'm going to rub there, man. I'm going to rock star,
Right.
So I hadn't checked anything out. So I go running up and jump on the stage. The stage was just a bunch of milk cartons, right? Milk crates with a sheet of plywood on top.
Oh, God.
So I go fly. I just surf the whole thing. The whole thing just takes off. I just go flying in, go to a couple tables, hit the wall, partially separate my shoulder, jump up.
Probably the biggest laugh you got that night, right?
It's huge. They're like, hey, everybody's laughing. They put the stage back in place, and I did my set.
Oh, my God. So who else was part of that Minneapolis scene? That was a big name, Cesario and Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
Have you been watching Louis on Zach's show?
Oh, yeah, he's great.
That's what I love about comedy is there's sometimes like, dude, you should do something with this person. But who would have thought Louis should play Zach's dad, and Zach went to clown college in France and ends up in Bakersfield, California. I was talking to my wife about that last night. We were laying in bed when the commercial came on for it. And they're just like this fucking like perfect casting together, going like, who to ever like?
No, that's it. That
yeah,
is.
in the way that they go back and forth, it's like they've been working together for like 50 years. They're like an old comedy team, and that's one of the things. One of my favorite things as like because despite how long I've been in this business, I've maintained that whole nerd sort of huge fan of stuff like that. So, who is a guy that when you was in the early 80s, like, you know, there's always those guys that, you know, when you start out, you're just like, there's no fucking way if this person doesn't make it, nobody's going to make it. Like those guys, you could be the worst manager in the world and you knew that someone was going to make it. Do you remember seeing anybody like that?
Well, you knew, and this is, you know, a lot of guys don't realize it, but you knew, looking back, you go like, Leno, you go Jay Leno. The first time I saw him, I go, this guy's a killer.
I've always heard that. I heard he's like
just destroyed rooms.
He had the belt for like, what, 15 years? Before he had to do the Tonight Show every night.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'd go into clubs and I'd be like, the first thing I'd say is, who's got the record? Who's got the time? You know, who's done the longest here? This guy, Glenn Hurst did 1 hour and 45. It's done tonight. It's over tonight. You know, I'm doing 2, easy. You know, and I'd go gunning for everybody. And then I'd go into town, and after Leno started working at clubs, right, when he started doing Letterman and started popping big, you'd go in and go, who's got the go? Jay Leno just did 3 hours. 3 hours. What did he do? Lock the doors like a Wagnerian opera? What did he do? Hold the audience in there? No, he had 4 ovations. They brought him back 4 times.
And he still had the materials. That's what's always blowing my mind about those people. Like, man, there was a period where people were trying to like set the record, and they were going on stage for like 7, 8, 9 hours. I was just always picturing like 8 hours in, you're just like, man, what's up with chairs? You know, and just like how do you still have?
Yeah.
At that point, it's just like you're just not getting off stage.
That's you know,
that's like world. You might as well be sitting on a fucking flagpole at that point.
No, exactly.
What kills me is somebody actually sat there and watched all of that, and there's a fucking 2 people left from the wait staff that have to stay there.
No. This was a legit show.
Right.
This was a legit show because people were drinking and doing coke, and the crowd could hang.
Right.
This was legit. This before the drunk driving laws changed. This was all different.
What class were you from as far as like, I know you were in New York. How long were you in New York
Richard
for?
Belzer was the king of New York stand-up comedy back then.
I love Belzer.
Yeah, he was, I mean, you see him work that room catch. He just owned it.
You know, he just set the record for playing like a TV character for the longest time on a show or something like that.
Really?
He set something. I remember being at Nick's Comedy Stop in the early 90s, and he was headlining. And he was going, they want me to do this this procedural show or something like that. What do you think? Should I do it? I remember sitting there in the back of the club going, what the fuck is this guy asking us? Of course you're going to do it. Should I be on TV? Absolutely. I didn't realize how much money he was making as a comedian, but like it's kind of cool that I remember reading that like within like the last like few weeks that he just set some fucking record for playing the same guy on the same show since basically my entire stand-up career, like almost 25
Wow.
25
I didn't
years.
realize it'd been that long.
Yeah. So you were...
he was the guy. Yeah, he was the guy. Gilbert Gottfried, I saw when you saw him, we were like, he's the guy. I mean,
right.
I once watched him too many nights in a row and went down to the East River and burned all my material, burned all my notebooks.
Oh, jeez.
Burned them all. I said, I'm just hack.
I've always told this story. One of my favorite ones I ever saw him. He went up at Nick's Comedy Stop one time in front of a bunch of fucking drunk Boston morons, and they were not getting him, and he didn't waver at all. He did his shit. He had this little old man yellow sweater on, and I remember one of his jokes, because all the comics were dying laughing. He was just bombing in front of this crowd. I remember he goes, I went to a party the other night, and I ran into Jackie Onassis, and I said, Jackie, do you remember where you were? And we're all dying laughing, and nobody got it. Nobody got the joke, and then he would just go on to the next one, and dude, fucking dead like silence, and he toughed his way through that. But first time I saw him, I wasn't in the business. I saw him in one of the Beverly Hills Cops movies. You were in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's funny. I mean, I think I filmed for like 4 days for 5 seconds of screen time. A couple
That's
of different
how it usually
scenes.
works.
And it was fun. It was hanging out. It was that time when I saw, wow, this is a star. Eddie Murphy. There was a scene where they're going, all right, Eddie, we got to hold on a minute. We got to change some lighting. And he goes, I'm ready. He goes, yeah, but the director said, hold on a minute, Eddie. We'll get you a minute. So Eddie goes to me, he goes, come on, let's go. So he goes, grabs like a bag of bread off the craft table, and we go down to the Playboy Mansion. So we just go down and he starts feeding the geese or whatever, just throwing bread to him. So about 5-10 minutes later, one of the ADs comes and goes, Eddie, they're ready for you now. Eddie just doesn't even turn around, just keeps feeding the geese, right? Eddie, we're ready. We're ready. He ignores them. They leave. They come back 5 minutes later. Eddie, are you ready now? And he made them wait. They made him wait. He made them wait. Well, I go, that's power. He's like,
The fucking balls.
I would never. I'd be like, they go, ready now, go, you got it.
Absolutely.
How high?
Thank you.
How high jump?
Yeah, hat in hand.
Yeah.
I'll never get...
No.
I've never understood, like, people that... What's funny and tragic is watching people pulling those moves when they don't have the power. which I've seen a lot, especially now where... so many aspects of the entertainment business because of the internet have just gone down the shit, like the entire music business. You know, anybody nowadays who complains, where's all the good music? It all sucks. I always go, well, you get what you pay for. And I'm guilty of it too. I LimeWired a lot of shit.
LimeWired, I remember that.
A couple of fucking laptops that just got virused out before somebody finally went like, dude, you're in this business. You should pay for it. Like, I think it might have been Russ Maneve in New York said that to me, and I haven't illegally downloaded a song or anything in like a dozen years. Way back to like Napster. LimeWire was the last one that I used. So,
Napster.
But anyways, yeah, I've seen people like try to pull that. Do you know who I am? And all of that, and the people who do that now, it's just like, dude, you are not paying attention to this business. Where like, remember, like back in the day, to try to get if they got like 2 major stars in a movie. It was just like, holy fuck, this is going to be like a blockbuster. Forget about now where like every movie is like Ocean's 11 now. Like you got like everybody got just bumped down like the shit that I would go and audition for in like the 90s. You'll have now a guy who like used to star in fucking movies, like B-level movies, is going and taking that spot. All these stars are on TV and you just see these people pulling their moves. But that I can't. I mean, that happens on a movie set. The lighting isn't right. It's a lot of waiting around.
Yeah. I mean, there's an entire film crew there. People all over. They had, the scene was they were going to shoot Eddie just walking past a bunch of women playing volleyball in bikinis. Right. So we get up to the scene, and they start doing it, and the director's yelling. He goes, "Jump higher, girls! Jump higher! Jump higher!" He's trying to get jiggle going. And I go to Eddie and go, there's too much DuPont out there, man, to jiggle. Right? And Eddie does that laugh, he does that laugh. Director goes, what? Eddie goes, he tells him what I said. Director goes, yeah, you're right. All right, let's shoot the scene. Forget it. Oh, it's all silicone, man. There ain't no jiggling happen.
Now, how was Eddie handling, did you know Eddie before?
I knew him from back in New York in the day. I mean, the first time he came in the Improv, I was the MC on Sunday night. I was like the regular. When I was in town,
And that was when it was down on like 46th or 45th Street on the west side?
It was on 44th and 9th, right there.
Yeah, because I used to live in that neighborhood.
Oh, really?
And we used to go down and I read this whole thing. It might have been, something I heard from you or something. And it's a pizza place or something. And that's where Richard Pryor, that really raw video of him just standing when he was stopped being the Bill Cosby clone. And he was turning into Richard. Like he literally was turning into Richard Pryor, the greatest of all time. And like that always blew my mind that was within like 15 blocks of where I lived. And I would go in there and get the pizza. The pizza was only okay, but I just wanted to be like,
see that wall?
Well, just wondering where the fucking stage was.
Yeah.
Can I ask a total geek question? When you walked into that, because it's basically the same space.
Right.
Where was the stage?
You walk in, the stage is all in the back of the room. There was an emergency door exit right by the stage. And the stage is a little,
Was it all one room? There was no walls? You didn't walk?
There was one room. There was a bar. There was a bar out there. Everybody hung out in the bar. It was a good bar. It was a cool bar. Everybody hung out there. And then you'd walk through this little narrow hallway, but short. And the men's bathroom was on the right-hand side of literally like a toilet and a sink in like one of those little closets.
Right.
And then you'd walk in this little hall, and the light was right there, like by the service bar. So if you're on stage and you see Rodney come under that light, you go, Dangerfield's here, got to get off, got to get Rodney on quick. He's making the rounds, getting ready to do a Tonight Show or something. So you see people pop up into that light area.
Probably see his fucking silhouette too, and you know who he was.
Oh yeah, you just see him. He'd pop in. As soon as you saw him, he'd pop out, and get up. And Rodney was like, because when I saw Rodney and I was on stage, I'd cut mid joke, And then, hey, we got a special guest here. And Rodney, I remember going off and Rodney coming on and goes, hey, you know how to fucking move. The kid knows how to move, man. He moves. He knows how to move.
That's awesome, man. That just reminded me one time I did a benefit at this theater in Beacon Theater. I forget what the hell the goddamn benefit was, but it was the sickest lineup I was ever on. It was Jon Stewart was hosting. Max Weinberg brought his band. Tony Bennett goes on first. Then Bruce Springsteen. Then they auctioned off one of his guitars. to this rich crowd that goes for like $100,000. Then fucking Joe McHale had to follow that. Like Joe McHale's he has to have the I followed fucking story, right? And then I went up after him, which, you know, he was the total buffer to get it back to, all right, settle down your expectations. This is what you paid for here, right? And Seinfeld was closing. That was the lineup. And I remember when I was doing my set, I was conscious about not being too dirty because, I mean, Seinfeld's like the king. And I remember looking over, I was getting close to the end of my set, and he was standing on the side of the stage, and, you know, the light was behind him, so he was like backlit. And I knew who he was with his silhouette. Like, that's how famous this guy is, and to me. And it wasn't just Jerry hanging out. He had the suit on. It was Jerry ready to go to work. And I was immediately thinking, like, oh, my God, am I being too blue? Is he going to hate me? Am I pissing him off? Am I going over? And I remember when I got off stage, he went like, I walked by him, and I was almost afraid to say hello. I just like walked by, and he just went, very funny, very funny. And then I apologized for working, you know, the way I do. I said, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I don't care. You almost like laugh, like, dude, I don't give a shit. And I'm thinking, like, that's right. This guy always worked clean, and he worked clean before there was even comedy clubs. So I can't imagine him going on after these guys who would chug a beer and then burp and be like, that's what I learned in college. And, like, that sort of energy is fun, but it whips him into, like, this frat boy frenzy.
Yeah.
And then you got to go up there, and if you have, like, a more of a, you know, just straight lace kind of like, yeah, I mean, I have a beer every once in a while, but guys, like, I'm not letting this totally affect my life, you know?
First of all, I love the fact that you did that. That's the training you got in Boston to go, I'm part of the show. I know I'm not closing, so I'm going to respect the headliner.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
how he works. A lot of guys
that
don't
was
do
another.
that.
That was another way that you would get blackballed. I remember there was a comedian up there, Mike Donovan. You ever work with him?
I know who he is.
Fucking hilarious guy, and he used to always say this thing was hilarious, and he'd be like, yeah, just go up there, you know, do like 20 minutes, you know, give you like, you know, 3 to 5 fucks is what he would say. It is the thing. He wasn't bullshitting. He was like, people in Boston counted your fucks. So I remember, you know, sometimes going over it and being in a panic, like, oh my God, that was my 6th fuck. Donovan's going to call Mike Clark, and I'm going to be ruined in this town. I said fuck 6 times. So, I mean, I don't want to sit there and be like the old guys, and just because I don't know what it is like for kids coming up now. And when I say kids to me now are anyone up to like 32, 33. Coming up now, but I'm sure that they have their whole way that
it always changes, but I like that. But, you know, Seinfeld always had that discipline. I remember working with him in these Jersey gigs. So these Jersey gigs were like $55 Jersey gigs that started. They were like the first paying gigs we could get. Go out to Jersey in some bar.
Right.
And so, you know, it's survival time in a bar. So a lot of guys would be like, what do I got to do to get by? You know, fuck with the crowd, dick jokes, whatever I got to do to get by.
Night.
Right? And I remember working with Jerry one time, and he goes on, and he'd follow all that, and he stays right to what he's doing, man. Works clean.
Brings them to him.
Right. No, but he wasn't killing. It's not like, oh, they all came to him. They were like, oh, wait a minute, the party's over. It wasn't great. But he never broke. He never wavered. And afterwards I go, wow, man. He goes, I'm getting ready to do Tonight shows. That's what I'm preparing to do. He had the focus. He had the long-range focus. He was like, I'm practicing this material here now because I'm going to do this on a Tonight show. Right. I'm working this out now. I'm not worried about my $55 Jersey gig.
He's one of those guys.
Long range view.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he just fucking knew where he. Feel. He
exactly.
just knew where he was going, and he just like you'll never meet a guy that doesn't suffer fools the way he does. I still, when I get around him, I get nervous. I'm going to say one stupid thing, and I'm going to get that look, and that's just going to be it.
He'll turn and walk away.
The same way, like his act is the way he lives his life. There's no fat. There's no extra words or any of that type of shit. And then the guy just fucking he just walks towards what he wants, walks right through it. I mean, not like in a malicious way, just like he just eye on the fucking prize, that guy.
You know, back in the day, guys would go like, you know what I don't like is that because you don't really know who he is up there. I go, are you fucking paying attention?
Yeah.
You know what pisses this guy off? The missing sock in a fucking dryer. That's who he is, man. He's paying attention. He's fucking paying attention to the details. That's what's irritating this guy.
I did his web series one time, and I told him how I hated that they said his show is a show about nothing. It's like, no, it isn't. This guy has contempt for 90% of people and activities. I was actually nervous saying it to him, and he laughed, and he goes, I think you're being generous by saying it, you know, that it's only
90%.
90%. Yeah, but he's... That's so fucking cool. So when did oh God, there's so many things I want to ask you. This is far. So the improv started in New York City, and then they opened the L.A. one, right?
And they opened the L.A. one because he realized everything was moving out to L.A. When Johnny moved, when Carson moved.
That was
when he moved in '72. The whole thing shifted. The axis shifted. Right, everybody had to go out to L.A. and the Comedy Store just opened then. So Comedy Store became people going on the Tonight Show going, yeah, I work out at the Comedy Store in L.A. That became the place.
Wow.
Right? So Bud's like, I got to get out there.
Yeah.
And then
because he wasn't getting the brand recognition anymore.
No, he was getting it when he was in New York, and the comics would go on the Tonight Show in New York and go, I work out the Improv here in New York, like Klein or those comics. Wow. But then it shifted, immediately shifted. That's why Leno went right out to L.A. Leno saw Freddie Prinze go on the Tonight Show and say, I'm working at the Comedy Store. And Leno goes, I got to get out to the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Right. And so the franchise didn't start opening until the 80s, like 84, when Mark Anderson opened one in San Diego. Then he started opening up this improv franchise.
Did Bud franchised it out? When he saw the whole boom happening.
That's when he made money. That's when he really made money. Mark Anderson opened these clubs, and Bud was making huge.
So it's like the Trump thing. Well, I've heard a lot of that stuff that says Trump on it. They're paying for the name.
They're paying for the name. Yeah.
That's so smart.
So Bud was getting like a gross of every club, I think.
All right, I got to ask you because you're doing the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which has to be the most nerve-wracking.
Huge
possible thing, like huge. Sleepless nights and like what year did you first do it?
84.
You did it in 84. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go on there. I mean, it's just at that point, it's that show. Like I feel bad for young people. They don't understand how huge that fucking show was. It was just like it was everything. It was the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan. It was Elvis.
For a stand-up comic, it was everything.
It was everything. So they tell you're getting the show, so you must be like over the moon excited. And then for me, what would immediately hit would be the dread of like, oh fuck, now I have to do this, and I have to somehow compartmentalize the fucking terror of this guy who can either invite me over, give me the okay, or all of my peers are going to see that he didn't like me because and
everybody watched it.
Shit, so
everybody watched it.
Yeah. So here's the deal: how it worked, and correct me if I'm wrong here. He would give you. What would he would give you the okay? He'd call you. He'd either call you over. That was the highest.
That's it.
Or you got the okay. So you're still coming back.
That's right.
Which is acceptable for the first time. You're a little nervous.
Yeah.
But then there was the one where he would just be like,
no, he would drumming his pencil on the table. He'd take his pencil and just drumming it and not looking at you, and that was like it, man. That was the worst.
And he knew what he was doing to the comic out that day.
Yeah.
I read that book that his lawyer read. I mean, just
Pushkin.
how
it was a great book.
How ice cold his mother was. Like the ability to do that. It's like that's the trickle down effect.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how I dealt with doing Letterman, because Letterman was my Carson. Like I literally had to. I was so fucking like thinking, what am I gonna do? I had to like work up like a healthy level of hatred. Because that's just how I'm wired. I'd be like, fuck this guy for making me so fucking... And then he was a great guy. Came over, shook my hand and everything. But like, I had to literally be thinking, fuck this guy. And then to go out there. So I went out there and thank God I had a great set. And I remember like, you see it on TV and you think he's fucking 80 yards this way and the band's 100 yards. They're all right there. Like you could take 2 steps over and shake Paul's hand. Another 3, you could shake Dave's. And I remember doing my set, hearing Dave laugh. And it was such... it was more relief. It was like, oh my God, he's laughing. Yeah. He's laughing. I was, trashing getting married, so it was like in the wheelhouse because he wasn't married or anything like that. It was just, I don't know, I just remember thinking like, I was so fucking relieved when it was over, man. I was just so relieved. So tell me what...
That was it. But sort of on a Letterman show, Letterman was almost behind you on camera. So the audience could, Letterman was in the sight line. So they're looking at you and seeing Letterman over your shoulder. So if you didn't have Letterman laughing, you could die.
Oh wow!
So
by the time I did it, they didn't have like
he moved it.
He was already over at CBS.
I'm talking about the NBC show. Okay, so anyway, '84, I was in New York because I left. The Summer Olympics were out here, and I said I'm going to get out of LA. This is going to be a mess. And so Kennison and I booked over to New York for the summer, and I was there, and I was working out. And Jim McCauley, the Tonight Show booker, saw me in New York and said, "You're ready, man. Want to do it in 2 weeks?" It was August. Jeez. So I didn't have like 2. So how it is, you cobble this a lot of people don't understand, it's a very unnatural set back then. I don't know how to do it now. Maybe they just pull 5 minutes out of the act intact on 5. But you pull like a greatest hits thing. You pull a joke from this bit. You pull
That's
a joke
how I
from
always
that bit.
did it, yeah.
Yeah, and you cobble together with these weird segues, right? You know, you do a water skiing joke, then you go, you know, when you come out of the water, your hair's messed up. You know, when I get my hair cut, and then you're like, it's torturous, man.
Speaking of hair, it's horrible.
Yeah, and so I put this set together, you know, that he helped me with, and then I'm practicing it every night, you know, just going into clubs every night as many times as I could, run out to a Jersey gig, coming back, doing a bunch of
Muttering
sets.
it while you're brushing your teeth. The whole fucking thing, completely freaking out.
Yeah. And I was drinking and doing a lot of blow back then, so I was like, I got to quit. I got to quit. So a week before, I thought I'm not going to drink and do drugs.
Were you high when they told you got the gig?
Oh, yeah. We went out to a bar afterwards. Macaulay and I went out to a bar. When he said, you got it, let's go talk about it. We went out to a bar drinking. I didn't do blow in front of him because I didn't know whether he did it or not. I wasn't going to risk that, you know, but we were drinking. Yeah, hell yeah. And I got so stressed out, I got shingles. I broke out in shingles.
Oh, my God.
You know, my ass and my leg were just blistered up, and I didn't know what there was. I went to the doctor. He said, you got shingles, man. I go, what? Yeah, you got shingles. That's an old man's thing. What are you stressed out about something? Yeah.
He said, yeah, I'm doing the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Then he's probably like, when is it? It's like, no, yeah, add to the stress, because now I know you're watching, and you're going to be at home going like, hey, this fucking guy got shingles.
He's got blisters on his ass.
Wow.
Yeah. And
So you're standing backstage, right?
Yeah.
So this is Burbank, obviously, 84.
Right,
They're shooting
right.
at Burbank. So
Yeah.
the fucking curtain was iconic. That fucking gold and blue and weird ass, all those weird colors.
all I could think about was fucking up. I mean, literally, I'm like going, I can't fuck up. You're not thinking about how much fun you're going to have?
Yeah.
I didn't think like, this is going to be fun, man.
I earned this.
Yeah,
I deserve this. I'm going to go out and have a good time and say, what's up, Johnny? You're not just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have the panic thought of what if I forget where I am? What if I forget what I'm saying? Because didn't that happen to somebody?
It happened to me on my HBO special. I blanked on my HBO special.
Oh, God. For how long?
When I had to stop taping, I just went, I'm lost. I'm lost. Because it was now, instead of 5 minutes unnatural, I'd like cobble together a half hour out of like hours of material and posted that, you know, like just all together, just kind of cut and paste. And I was practicing that for a long time. And I got out there and I just went, what am I doing? What the, you know, it's like one of those things where you're going, what the fuck am I doing? It's almost like Biff from Death of a Salesman. Why am I making this contemptuous bid here?
What happens is you go out there and rather than just doing a show, you know you're being watched, and then you start watching yourself, and then you leave yourself. And then you're sitting in the crowd going, why is he moving his arm like that? Because you're literally thinking, oh, wow, dude. We've all fucking been there.
Yeah.
So when you're standing behind that curtain and you just...
Adrenaline was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Then you walk out and then you hit it, and but it's like every other time. I mean, my mind went blank. Like every time before I go on stage, my mind goes blank. If you go, what joke you going to do? What joke? I don't have any jokes. I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
Totally blank, right? And walk out there, do that first joke, get that first laugh, and go,
Yeah.
you're locked in.
Yeah.
That first laugh, and you're locked in.
So you went out, you did your first joke.
Yeah.
How did it do?
Good laugh.
Got a good laugh.
And you know, when you're doing it, you're playing it, everybody says the first joke is just them seeing you and hearing you for the first time, so don't expect a big laugh, so you don't put your, I always was told, like 3 jokes in, that's your first killer joke.
Right.
You know, 3 jokes in, that should be your first killer joke. That's how you kind of planned it.
I know, all these fucking guys with their ideas.
Yeah,
and then the 5th joke should be this, and then you're oh, great, more shit to think about.
It is unnatural. It's unnatural.
Yeah, no, so...
It was unnatural.
So you go out there, and you end up having...
Really good set.
Have a really good
Good
set.
set.
Now you're like, how long did it feel to look over at Johnny? Like, fuck, I'm going to lock eyes with this guy.
Got that, looked over, big smile. You know, big smile with a circle finger, like you said, like big okay. And I go, okay. And I came backstage, and Jim McCauley greets me. I got a beer, hands me a beer. Great, fantastic, man. Stand over here. Stand over here at the end of the show. You stand here. And when Carson walks back the way he walks back after every show, this route he takes backstage, you're right there on the route. He stops, shakes your hand. That was great. Get a photo op. Fantastic. You're going to come back soon. You're going to come back soon. Yeah, I got a picture. You know, you got a picture. And you're going to stand there going, okay. And then it was fantastic. He moves on, right? And you're like, this is it. Then you go back and the improv that night on Melrose in West Hollywood.
Right.
Everybody was there. They turned the TV up. Everybody in the bar is standing there. You're standing there.
That's what kills me about how they redid that. Now they got the bar upstairs. It's like all that history. You guys, all those people that stood there watching their friends' Tonight Show set, everybody who leaned on that fucking bar kills me. At least they didn't demolish it.
And John used to say the same thing when a new comic, I'm glad you're in a good mood tonight because we got a new comic coming on, right? And the comics would mouth it, and some would actually say it out loud with Johnny. That's how much everybody knew that.
Wow.
That routine.
Right.
Right? And you stand there and it's like, yeah, and everybody's cheering you.
How much blow did you do that night when you got fucking past that? Jesus Christ.
I had Coke in my pocket when I walked out on the set that day. That's how much I knew I was.
Dude,
I was
you guys
doing the dressing
totally
room.
like when you watch Ron, like the fucking Ron Burgundy and all those fucking movies. Did that look more like a documentary to you rather than a comedy? It's like, yeah, we did all that. I had a suit like that. I wore that on the Tonight Show. I had blow in my pocket.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's fucking amazing. Well, we gotta. I gotta run back to this. I'm in the middle of editing this fucking cartoon that's never gonna end, dude. I gotta tell you, man. Like this. You've been one. I've had great guests, but this was just so fucking. I hope people listening had as much fun as I did. Like I could ask you a zillion. How do you not talk to a guy who fucking had Coke in his pocket when he does the fucking Tonight Show? You're like, I'm doing this either way. This is either going to make me super happy or make me want to fucking kill myself. So his book is called Kicking Through the Ashes, My Life as a Stand-Up in the 1980s Comedy Boom. Where can people get this?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
Yeah, I'm going to do Book Soup, a book signing at Book Soup over in West Hollywood on January 6th.
January 6th.
7 o'clock, January 6th. I'm going to do a signing and tell some stories.
Will you have any Coke in your pocket?
I'll have a snow seal filled with sugar.
Listen, Rich, it's been such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
I got to say this. My son is angry he can't be together. He's a huge fan.
Oh, Jesus.
He's a huge fan.
Awesome,
and he is 17 years old. He is a banger, man. And he so digs you. And he was like, oh, Dad, man, can I get out of school? Can I just, can't do it.
All right, when he's of age and can come out to the clubs, just reach out and hopefully I'm still funny at that point. All right, guys. Rich Shydner, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
All right, man.
All right.
All right, here's a little bit of advertising for you over there. All right, Loot Crate. Give me the loot. Be the envy of your friends and get your 100% exclusive crate at lootcrate.com/Burr and enter my code name Burr to save $3 off on any new subscription. Wait until I tell you about December's crate. It will have you fighting the power, man. Loot Crate offers an epic range of pop culture items for less than $20 a month. If you're more of a fanatical fashionista, then try Loot Wear. Monthly wearables and accessories with cult classics and your favorite franchise. If you want to get fancy and get a bigger box with even bigger loot, there's Loot Crate DX. Want to geek out your pet? Try Loot Pets. They got everything. They got all of that shit. Get ready for December's rebellious theme, Revolution. They've designed a system to keep you down, man, and they're meddlesome. Hello, friends. It's time for a revolution. December's crate features exclusive items from Assassin's Creed, Mr. Robot, Firefly, our monthly t-shirt, and pin, and more, including an exclusive Funko Pop. Your dad's garage band, Funko Pop. Do not wait. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe for December's crate. When it's over, it's over. No more crates. Go to lootcrate.com/Burr and enter my code Burr, B-U-R-R, to save $3 off on any new subscription today. All right, Lyft, everyone. You know about Lyft, right? It's the app that gets you ride minutes on demand, 24/7 for less than the cost of a cab. If you tried Lyft, you know what I mean. With Lyft, you just download the app, request a driver, and they show up in 3.5 minutes on average. That's really fast, man. Every Lyft driver is fully vetted through their 10-point safety standard, including criminal and DMV background checks. You know you'll get around quickly and safely. Lyft drivers are rated after every ride, so only the best stick around. You don't have to worry about getting into a filthy car with some creepy dude. With Lyft, you can tip in the app, which obviously leads to a happier drivers. I mean, 9 out of 10 Lyft rides get a perfect 5% rate from their passengers. It's just a better all-around experience. Bigger isn't always better. Lyft isn't the biggest ride-sharing app, but it's the fastest-growing and highest-rated one. I'm talking quality over quantity. Thanks to Lyft, you got an easy way to avoid drunk driving. You never have to bum a ride, and you never have to worry about parking. A lot of people are actually getting rid of their cars Is that true? And relying on Lyft to get around. Now they're just talking shit here. And you know what? I don't blame them. According to the copy, right now, Lyft is offering listeners a special deal. Get 3 rides, up to $10 each. That's a $30 value if you can't do basic math when you enter the promo code Bill Burr. Just download the free Lyft app today and enter the promo code Bill Burr. In the payment section, you'll start with 3 free rides up to $10 each. That's a $30 value. That's promo code Bill Burr. Enter promo code Bill Burr. All right, SeatGeek, everybody. Oh, the geeks with the seats. Buying tickets online for sports and concerts has been a confusing process for a long time. Yeah, you get ripped off. It's not confusing. There's no confusion there. It's like, why the fuck does this cost so much? Am I this far away from the goddamn action? It's always been hard to find the best deal for the game that you want or the show you want to go to, and none of these older ticket sites want to change that. But SeatGeek is different. They've come along with created an amazing app and website that makes it easier than ever for fans to buy and sell tickets. Everything about SeatGeek is designed to make life easier for sports and music fans. SeatGeek does all the price comparisons for you by searching multiple ticket sites and ensuring that you get the best possible deal. SeatGeek does all the work and you save time and money. Best of all, my listeners get $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app. Go to the settings tab, and click add a promo code. Enter promo code Burr. SeatGeek will send you a $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code Burr today. Be one of these fucking reads is over a minute. Let's try to blow through this one here. All right. Simply Safe. Ever find yourself almost all the way to work, or maybe you're out with family and friends and you get that nagging feeling? Did I close that door? Why am I married to this person? Did I lock that door? You just don't have to, you just don't know. If you drive yourself nuts thinking about that shit, well, you don't have to worry about that shit anymore because you got Simply Safe Home Security. It's a nice extra layer of protection to know Simply Safe is there. Simply Safe has an arsenal of sensors to protect your entire home and keep your family safe. Simply Safe, they just keep saying the fucking name here, got rid of everything that makes most home security such a pain. There's no long-term contracts, no hidden fees. They won't gouge you. It's just $14.99 a month. That's 3 times less than what other companies charge. And here's some big news. Simply Safe just released its brand new high-definition security cameras. This camera is different. It connects to your security system and sends your smartphone a video the second something happens. Hey, look at that asshole fucking breaking into my house, jerking off on my couch. You can see everything that's going on as you're eating your fucking souffle. So you won't have to wonder anymore. Oh, that's why my house is going to be trashed when I get home. Check out Simply Safe's new camera today. Just go to simplysafebird.com right now. That's simplysafebird.com. Hey, simplysafebird.com.
I was riding on the Mayflower when I thought I spied some land. I yelled for Captain Arab, I'll have you understand, who came running to the deck, said, boys, forget the whale, we're going over yonder, cut the engines, change the sail. Howl on the bowline, we sang that melody, like all tough sailors do when they're far away from sea.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let the Yuletide glow. I don't know the words, but I'm gonna keep going. Here we are playing patty cake with some mistletoe and a sleigh. Santa Claus has an itchy beard and big black boots sit in his lap. I don't know why I can't say Merry Christmas. Somewhere along the line it became offensive, even though I don't mean anything bad by it. What if some Mexican came up to you and said, Happy Cinco de Mayo? Would you say, dude, what the fucking fuck? It's all just April to me. Do 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 do. Friends, it's that time of year again. Boo 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 boo. When the fuck did saying Merry Christmas become offensive? Ba, 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 boo, boo, boo. You know, I don't understand that shit. Just because I say it, it's like if somebody Jewish said Happy Hanukkah to me, I wouldn't be like, what the fuck, dude? Blah, 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 blah. What the fuck? I don't understand that. I like saying Merry Christmas. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel good right in my chest. Feel a little warm feeling, just like the Grinch. When his little heart kind of broke out of that little box. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. This is a little holiday breakdown. As I kick knowledge about the holidays. Whatever. So have yourselves a merry little Christmas, yes. I don't hate Muslims or Jews when I say Merry Christmas. So whatever group is walking around saying it's offensive, go fuck yourselves and your fucking cunts. Even if you're male, you have a cunt. Because you've ruined part of my holiday, I would never do that to you. All right, that's enough. Jesus Christ. All right, Anyways, how are you? I know, I'm tone deaf, but, I told you I was going to embrace the holidays this year. And I was at the airport coming back from Vancouver. Listen to this week that I had. First of all, this is the Monday morning podcast. Usually, if I'm going to sing badly, I only do it for a couple of seconds. But, I don't know. I kind of felt it. And I was just in Canada, and they say Merry Christmas up there, which makes me feel good. Because you know what? That's what I say. Do I have to go to Canada now to listen to somebody say Merry Christmas? I don't know. What the fuck are these? How big are these groups? I think you just need, literally 18 people. And they just, hold up signs and they start going, what the fuck? What the fuck? And the way they frame it on the news, they make it look like it's a zillion people, I don't know. It's weird. I'm trying to think if I ever said Merry Christmas to a friend of mine who's Jewish and he ever got offended. I don't think they ever did. So what? 18, you and 18 of your friends get offended by this shit, and then you get to call yourselves a group, and then you get to start walking around telling people what's offensive and what isn't. These are the holidays, you cunts. Why don't you fucking open your hearts to another religion? All right. So anyways, this is listen to this fucking week that I had. All right? You want to talk about busy? Because my brain is going to be all over the place. I'm already telling you that. All right? And I might even sing another holiday fucking song if I feel like it. Hey, Bill, nobody's saying you can't. I don't understand the hostility. Why don't you relax, okay? You just got back from the airport. You haven't showered yet. You should have taken a little bit of time. Showered, treated yourself and gotten yourself in a mindset where you could relax a little more and do a happier podcast, but you didn't. You ordered a grilled cheese sandwich and some chicken noodle soup, and you fucking went right in wearing the clothes that you've been sitting in since last night at the Canuck game, and now you're laying on your bed. That's disgusting. Anyways, this is my week. See what I did? I just talked myself down. A lot more calmer tone. Do you like this? This is the new me. This isn't the new me. This is the guy I'm trying to be. This is the person I think I was before a bunch of fucked up shit happened to me and make me become like the screaming maniac that I am. So I'm trying to get back in touch to me circa 1972. Anyways, this is my week. Monday, I flew back from New York City after a wonderful engagement at Caroline's Comedy Club, and I landed. I had a sandwich, and then me and three of my friends all went down to the LA Forum. We saw AC/DC. That was Monday. Most people would call it a fucking week right there and be like, wow, I just saw one of the most legendary rock bands of all time. Brian Johnson's voice sounded unbelievable. He looked like he was having the time of his life. Angus was still jumping around, and I'm sick of people on this tour going, yeah, Angus, he's great, but he's kind of lost a step. It's like, dude, so have you. I don't understand how people feel like they look at famous people like they're not supposed to age, and if people fucking videotaped you taking out your trash 7 years ago, the last time AC/DC was on tour, I bet you don't have such a big spring in your fucking step either. Start making fun of Angus. The guy's jumping around at 53 years of age, never missing a note. Try doing that at 16. Try doing the shit that he does. I dare you to try that on your fucking, your little PlayStation game, Guitar Hero. You think you could do that for an hour and a half, then do a striptease and moon the crowd, and then come right back in, jump off a fucking drum riser, and be right on the fucking one? I don't think you could do that. Leave Angus alone. They were the shit. That was my Monday, right? And then Tuesday, I began 3 straight 12-hour days shooting my pilot for Comedy Central, which could not have gone better. I think we got a lot of fucking hilarious stuff. I made a very smart move. I pulled the Seinfeld. I learned a lot from Jerry Seinfeld. You know, he, what did he do one time? I watched him and accept an Emmy for his show, and he said something to the effect of, "Hi, I'm Jerry Seinfeld, and I am a bad actor. But I've proven if you surround yourself with enough talent, you too can whatever." So I went out and tried to find the funniest fucking people I could. So hopefully, if I suck, the people around me are okay. So that was my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We wrapped at about 9 p.m. Thursday. Smoked a fucking stogie, as men do. And then I got my little Prius, reeking of Dutch Masters, and went home. And the next day I boarded a fucking Air Canada flight to Calgary and proceeded Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I went to a Calgary Flame game, then an Edmonton Oiler game, and then a Vancouver Canuck game. I always wanted to go up there, and I got to tell you, it was pretty fucking amazing and pretty goddamn cold. Do you remember that shit when you were a kid? Wherever the hell you lived, like my nose has not stuck together when inhaling since I went collecting on my paper route in like the 5th grade. Calgary, I don't know what the fuck is in Calgary. Okay, let me do my little review of the western part of Canada. All right, Calgary, first stop. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know what the fuck the deal was. I didn't see a skyline. It was snowing like I haven't seen it snow in years. And then I got on their little fucking trolley, which was really confusing, and I went the wrong way like 7 times. But the Saddle Dome was the shit, and I sat next to some guy from Canada who said A after everything. You know, like that strange Bruce shit. Like, oh, they got to get it out, eh? A means everything up there. It means, like, you know what I'm saying? It means, what did you say? It means, huh? I guess that also means what I don't know. It's like 7 different. It's like Donnie Brasco when he fucking explained forget about it. That's what A is in fucking Alberta. They got to get it out, eh? And they almost sound like they're fucking Irish. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the game was great. There was a shootout at the end of the game, eh? And Panthers won that one. And then the next fucking day, I drove up to Edmonton through towns, like the towns out there. When I was looking at the weather map, it was like, fucking Red Deer, Yellowknife, all those Indian names. The classic white guy thing. You murder a bunch of people, you commit genocide, and then you name towns after them. Did we destroy the fucking Ponkapog people? Let's name a street after them, maybe even a golf course. I think that's only the right thing to do, considering none of them exist anymore. Let's do something here to remember these people after we've massacred them and put small pockets on in their sleeping bags. Did Indians have sleeping bags? I don't think they did. What did they use for sleeping bags? Did they sleep in the fucking entrails of an animal like Luke Skywalker? This podcast went off the rails about fucking 2 minutes ago because I got in my head going, did I just calm myself down like 5 minutes ago and then all of a sudden I stopped being funny? I mean, this podcast started off great. I sang Christmas carols. You know what I mean? I defended saying Merry Christmas, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, I'm coming off angry. Let's take it down a little bit. And then all of a sudden I felt like I was doing the traffic, I like the traffic down the south when you listen to it because they still say when there's an accident, they call it a wreck. And that always makes me feel like I'm watching NASCAR. We got a wreck down there on I-95. They don't talk like that, but that's all I hear at that point when someone says, we got a wreck. There's a car all tore up on the side of the fucking road. And anyways, then when I drove up, I was going to stop off in Red Deer to get something to eat just on my way up to Edmonton, just to say I fucking did it. And then I was like, you know what Red Deer sounds like? It reminds me of one of those A&E murder mysteries that I watched where these two hunters had gone up to some fucking place to go hunting. They stopped off in a bar. They exchanged words with people. They got killed, and then somebody in the bar fed their bodies to pigs. And it was one of the most creepiest fucking stories I've ever seen. You know, just that whole fucking feeding a person to pigs. And they all looked like they were in, like, Creedence Clearwater Revival, so it was really fucking with my head. And, I don't know, Red Deer just sounded like that kind of shit could happen. So I bypassed it, and I continued on up to Edmonton. I'm going to tell this story in real time. Let's fly forward, okay? I had a great time. Edmonton was an awesome game. Coming up there, seeing all the championship banners and the fucking retired jerseys of Gretzky and Messier and all. You got to do it, okay? Not to mention, both the Saddle Dome and Northlands Coliseum are just basically, I don't know, they're like no frills. They made an ice rink and they put seats around it, and that's it. There's none of that shit, you know what I mean? Although, you know what, Calgary definitely had the whores skating around on the ice in between. And, oh, God, when do I get to questions? I just bored the shit out of myself with it. It was such a fucking good time. I had an awesome time up there. You know what it is? I woke up at fucking 8 in the morning, and I just got on a plane, and I had to come back and do the podcast. So I'm skipping over a bunch of good details. You know, what did I see up there? I saw some guy in like minus 90 million degrees Celsius, whatever the fuck that is. I think that's like 5 degrees American. And he was fixing a four-wheeler with no hat on. And no gloves. He was standing out there. Do you remember how Arthur Fonzarelli used to dress when they gave him a garage? When they ran out of shit to do with his character? It was before he became a teacher, but after him just hanging out at Arnold's, when they were finally like, okay, this guy's like 30. He needs a job. You know what I mean? How does he afford to live in that attic? He was dressed like that, and it was fucking cold out, and he was fixing a four-wheeler, and I actually videotaped it. And if I knew how to upload it, I'd put it on there. But anyways, this is my podcast. Let me get to the questions here. People send me questions all this week. I think I shot my load with that fucking song right up the front, you know? And if I suck the rest of the way out, you got to admit, 3 minutes of Christmas caroling. Isn't that, am I defending my podcast? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like I'm bombing as a comedian. Go, come on, man, that was a funny joke. It was funny. You know, I mean, I disguised, you know, I had a nice setup. I didn't have any extra words. I disguised the punchline. I took a left at the last second. Can't help it if you guys don't want to go along for the ride. All right, question number 1. Bill, since you're a struggling actor trying to make it, have you ever thought about doing gay porn? You know, you guys have really been assholes lately, but you know what? I'm going to fucking be a man about it. Here we go. Let's go. Since you're a struggling actor trying to make it, have you ever thought about doing gay porn to make ends meet? You already have the iconic shaved head and like hockey. Do you have a shaved head and you like hockey? You're gay? Okay. Speaking of hockey, Sean Avery is underrated. Anyone who calls a woman a cunt and then tells her that he wouldn't even... I can't read your fucking typing. He wouldn't come in her face because she's too old is cool with me. All right, let's get back to your first question. As a struggling, have I ever thought about doing gay porn? Obviously, no. What is the worst thing I have considered doing? I considered doing commercials back when commercials weren't funny. Remember back in the day, like 10, 12 years ago, they started to get funny, but it was that awkward middle ground where, you know, you could be in a really funny commercial or you could just be like biting into a sandwich and then giving that look to the camera like, boy, oh boy, was that tasty, you know. I remember back in the day, like I refused to do a commercial because I listened to that Bill Hicks rant about that. And then after a while, I was like, why am I making a difficult business even harder, you know? Granted, I don't go out for commercial auditions, but it's not because I'm against doing commercials. I just don't do commercial auditions because I'm lazy. Plus, they're all the way out in Santa Monica, and I'm not driving all the way over there to fucking act like I'm eating a bowl of Fruit Loops. I'm not doing that. You know, I do have a little pride. All right, question number 2. Bill, hey, I'm a big fan of the podcast. I listen to most of them traveling over the Thanksgiving break. I did notice that you have a few favorite words, and since I lead a sad, pathetic life, I thought it would be funny to count them during last week's podcast. So here we go. Okay, evidently this is the list of my favorite words and how many times I say them. Cunt, 3 times. Wow, that's pretty low. We are in a recession. I don't know. I said 27 times. Shit, I said 42 times. Fuck, I said 127 times. Wow, 127 times. Let's do the math there. That's about 3 times a minute. 4 times a minute. I do about a half-hour podcast. Wow, I'm a Wayne Gretzky of the F word. All right, choke out a pheasant. I say 1 time. I said 1 time, okay. You're a Popeye-like, bup, chuckle to yourself 9 times. Okay. I don't know if that was interesting to anybody. That was kind of interesting to me that somebody's that fucking lonely. All right, underrated, overrated. Overrated, Brendan Fraser. Oh, underrated, Brendan Fraser. Eric Lindros, when he first came into the league. Completely bald vagina in college are overrated. I would go with you there. The bald vagina is just fucking creepy. It's really fucking creepy. Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. No, I don't want to go down to a thatched hut either. See, now I don't do this shit. I'm not taking in this direction, goddammit. All right, 3. Bill, if you could have one superpower, what would it be? Also, how would you use it? Would you fight crime? Would you commit crimes? Or would you just use it to beat the shit out of people who heckled you? You know what I would do? I would use it to freak people out who had power. You know, like if I was like, I mean, I can't just have one superpower. I got to have a couple. Like if I put it this way, if I was like Superman, I could fly, I could see through, you know, walls, and I was bulletproof. I would fuck with people who had power. I'd fly into the Oval Office, you know, right in the middle of them talking about shit. You know, I'd just be standing outside the window, you know, just staring at them like Michael Myers and like Halloween. I would just do that. I would just freak people the fuck out. I wouldn't use it to fight crime. I would use it to get to my gigs a little quicker rather than flying Southwest. And I would just wear my superhero outfit the whole week, you know, like Steve Martin. You know, he always wore that white suit. I would just wear whatever my superhero fucking suit was. And I'd just fly to my gigs and then I'd fly home. No security, no fucking bags. I'd have a little toothbrush in my utility belt. What would I do with I don't know what I would do with it. I would fuck with corporations and leaders of the world. And all my information would be shit that I read on YouTube and Wikipedia. And, yeah, that's what I would do. Wow, just no fucking energy this week. What is wrong with me? I was so excited about this podcast, and I just really feel like this is Bill Burr woefully miscast in the Monday Morning Podcast. Number 6, Bill, I was wondering if there are any situations that you steer away from when you work audiences. I'm not talking about something as profound as a racial observation, but any social subjects that crowds really don't respond to, or is everything up for grabs? Okay, these are 2 things. I don't really do sex material. I just feel like the crowd absolutely loses their mind if you talk about sex, no matter what you're saying. And I got to admit, I always feel a little crude when I'm talking about it. You know, even that's why I kind of broke off the whole bald vagina thing. It's no class, you know. I don't know. It's just crude. Unless you have a really unique fucking story to tell. You know, I'm not like a prude or anything, but a lot of times, like when I go to see movies and, you know, 2 actors are having a love scene and there's some guy sucking on the girl's titties, it's ridiculous to me. And I always look at the person like, that's not even necessary to moving this story along. You know, back in the day, they would just show the couple go in the room and they would close the door. And then they would just play that saxophone, because the saxophone always, back in the day, always meant some people were fucking. That's what the saxophone meant. It either meant that or someone was going to do a striptease. And you had to play it with that really fucking fucking sound, and everybody knew that somebody was getting some dick, right? But you didn't have to show it. You know, that was my whole thing with, like, Brokeback Mountain. I don't mind watching a movie about a couple of gay cowboys, but I don't want to watch a couple of dudes fucking a tent, you know? I And I don't understand that. And then, like, what? That makes me more comfortable with my sexuality because I look at that. I got to admit, half the time, there's two things that really gross me out in movies. It's like over-the-top kissing is fucking gross to me, and people who eat during scenes. I don't know if I've probably talked about this. This is my number one pet peeve in a movie. Like, I've gone out to lunch with people, and they're eating, and they talk, and they take their moments when to do it. Something about actors, the second they're in a movie and they start eating, they start overacting eating. You know, and they start fucking pointing with bread. Yeah, you know what we gotta fucking do? And they got shit hanging out of their mouth. It's like, dude, why don't you finish what you're eating, collect your fucking thoughts, swallow, and then present your line, okay? I don't need you fucking... Sorry, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about now. There's two subjects. Okay, so sex and I don't make fun of the mentally handicapped. I just don't. It just crosses the line. I've done it before in the Opie and Anthony show. I've piled on. I've definitely said some shit on stage if it just pops into my head. But generally speaking, I don't write bits. I just don't. You know, half of it because I think, you know, it's just brutal to me. And then secondly, I haven't had any kids yet, and I really feel like I'm jinxing myself. A long time ago, I did do Comic View, and I did do a bit about movies about the mentally handicapped. I don't know if you can find that on YouTube. And my parents saw it, and they weren't happy. And I'm still looking for approval, so I took that to... I don't know. There's too many details. Yeah, those are the two subjects. I don't do shit like that. And I also try not to do stuff that will reinforce moronic thought. You know, as far as like racial shit, I try not to do that. But everything else, yeah, I don't care. Other than I really enjoy pissing people off in the crowd. You know, like whatever group I was tonight. If that Merry Christmas group. You know, the people who find that offensive were at my show, like, you know, it would just basically be your duty as a comedian to just make their night as miserable as fucking possible. So I'm definitely an asshole, but yeah, those are the sex and the retarded right there. There you go. Those are the lines. All right, number 8, Bill, do you fish? No, I don't. Occasionally I have. I've gone fishing, but no, I don't own a rod or a reel. My favorite part of it is going out on the boat and hoping to see... I like looking at wildlife. I don't like killing it, you know? Even if they're fish, it just fucking bothers me. Like, you know, there's already dead fish in the supermarket. Why don't you just eat that? But then I read all the survival stuff like I should know how to do this. But then you go out deep sea fishing and they fucking do everything for you. You just sit down. They're like, and your rod and reel, sir. They just hand it to you. They tell you what to do. They know where to go, where the fish are. And it's like, you know, I feel like, you know, when you're like 5 years old, and your dad lets you sit in his lap and steer the fucking car, and you're like, oh, I'm driving the car. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're a fucking child. And I also really enjoy the drinking. That's the part of the fishing that I like, even though booze and boats don't mix, according to the posters. All right, Bill. Who do you think are the top 3 electrical guitarists that are currently performing? I have no fucking idea. I'm 40 years old. I shouldn't know that. All right? My favorites of all time are Stevie Ray Vaughan, and recently I really got back into Jimmy Page. I really got back into his shit, and I don't know who the third one is. Take your pick. But it's definitely, I don't like the Steve Vai, Joe Satriani kind of guys, those guys who can play really fast, but it sounds like they're playing on a Casio keyboard. I'm not into really fast guys. I'm into those guys, those guys that give you chills. Speaking of which, the best part of that's what I wanted to. The best part of the fucking hockey trip that I took was when I went to Vancouver and they sang "Oh Canada," and the guy comes out and he sings the first verse or whatever, and then he stops and then he just sort of conducts the crowd as they sang the second half. I got literally goosebumps listening to the people up in Vancouver singing "Oh Canada" because I never heard it sung like that. You know, people in America at the hockey game sing "Oh Canada" the way they sing the fucking American national anthem in Canada. There's no passion. You don't give a fuck. You know, you should have heard them singing. They were like, "I say, can you see blah 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 blah." And then they get to their song, and they're just like, oh, Canada. And they fucking, milking every note. They're into it. Glorious and free. All right, enough singing here. All right, Bill, number 9. At the Caroline's show, you mentioned that your grandmother is 101 years old. At her age, does she still have any messed up, out-of-date reasonings? My grandfather is 86. He's a typical old Italian man, sharp for his age, but recently an interracial couple moved next door to him, and we had to stop him from going to City Hall because he wanted to have his property taxes lowered due to the fact, as he put it, a colored woman is living next door. Swear to God that's true. No bullshit. What do you think? Fucked up, fucking classic, or a little of both? That's a hard one. Obviously, if somebody, below the age of 60 thinks something like that, yeah, that's fucked up. But, the guy's fucking, let's do the math here. He's 86 years old. All right, how do we do this here? 86 plus 4 is 90. 4 years from now is 2012. So he was born in 1922. All right, the guy's born in 1922. All right, he's 18 in 1940. They didn't even let black people in the fucking army, and when they did, they put them in a special unit. It's like fucking 15 years before. When the fuck was civil rights? No, it was like 25 fucking years after that. 23. Yeah, no, that's his wheelhouse. You know what I mean? The same way I don't know like what the best guitarists are that are playing today because now I'm 40. I'm off. Like you're away. You shoved off to sea. I got my fucking 10 albums in my head that I'm going to listen to for the rest of my life. The same way old people still listen to In the Mood. Da-da-da-da-da-da. They fucking love that song. I hate that song. Drives me nuts. Makes me want to kill somebody. But when I'm 80, I'll still be listening to Back in Black. And I think you take how you think along with you. So, I don't know. And at that point, he's 86. Is he really going to start a hate group? It's kind of funny. Racism becomes funny only when you're so fucking old that you couldn't do anything about it, Then you just become this crazy old guy who's just saying a bunch of shit. So I guess, yeah, that is funny. That is funny. But what's weird? This is getting back to what that kid was asking me about what you talk about. But right now I feel like I have a social responsibility because I'm talking to 14 people over the goddamn phone to now say that that's fucked up. Okay, you know what? In public, on television, if the guy did that, that's definitely fucked up. But sitting in your living room and your grandparent says something fucking racist, it's hilarious. Not because you condone it, just because they're so uncensored and they don't give a fuck. And, I probably would have laughed. I would have laughed. Not saying I'm condoning it on any level. All right. Question number 10. Know what's really, really overrated? Oh, overrated, underrated. This assumption that all gay men are funny. You know what? That's just hilarious right there. Because you really do picture them like that. I've actually said that in defense of gay people. Like, I don't understand why people have such a problem with them. They're fucking hilarious. And exactly, I don't want to watch two of them fucking a tent. I have my... But this guy says, basically, I work in a restaurant. We have our share of gay guys that have a great sense of humor. But just because you're gay doesn't mean describing what you'd let Clive Owen do to you in great detail is funny. Yeah, that's kind of nasty. I've known a couple of gay guys who get a little over the top with the fucking description of their sexual shit that they want to do. Yeah, that does get creepy. But you know what it is? That's karma for straight guys, because how that makes you feel as a straight guy, that's how women feel when some girl walks by and you're like, I'd love to fucking bend her, or, whatever fucking evil shit you say. So, yeah. Wow, that's a lot of awful images in my head. All right, let's get to the next one. Overrated. Cable TV, especially the movie channels, because they just rerun all the same suck-ass movies like Kindergarten Cop or Under Siege. They still run Van Damme movies, and the worst are the cheesy pornos. Yeah, you know what, I gotta admit, the only reason why I watch fucking movie TV is just to watch the fights. And I watch that show Dexter. Is anybody even still listening to this podcast? I'm so fucking jet lagged right now from flying to seeing 3 hockey games in 3 nights. I feel like I'm just I'm reading like the fucking stock report. All right, underrated. Oh, this should wake you up. The sex swing. The sex swing is underrated. Really? I didn't know people were out there going, that thing fucking blows. Or maybe you're saying it's underrated because no one really talks about it. Okay, let's hear the review. The sex swing. Really, I'm not trying to be scandalous or anything. If this is something people have not yet tried, for Christ's sake, try it. I promise. It makes it fun and easy to fuck. Yes, because the rest of us find it tedious and not fun. You know what? That's the way you should. You know what? I think that's the sex swing should be for old people who get Viagra and they still want to fuck. All right? Oh, wow. I just said I wasn't going to do sex material, but you really just fucking, you just fucking lobbed it over the net. Okay, this is what you do, okay? You fucking lube up grandma, all right? Not grandma, your wife. Now it's really disgusting, all right? You fucking take a little fucking Viagra, and then you just push her away. Like when you're like a little kid, you just push her away and she keeps coming to you. Oh! And then you just push her away again. Hoo! Hey! All right? You fucking bang away. And who knows? What if you impregnate her? Sure, you'll be dead by the time the kid's fucking in kindergarten, but you'll fucking be on Good Day America. They'd act like it was cute, like when Tony Randall had a kid at 72. Oh, that Tony fucking Randall. You know what? If you have a kid at 72, especially if it's a boy, what you basically just had is a future felon. All right? Because the fucking confusion of having a 72-year-old gay man as your dad who dies when you're in the 4th grade, at the very least, you're going to rob a convenience store. I don't know. I thought it was an asshole move on his part, and I've never been able to enjoy The Odd Couple the way I used to. All right, overrated. I like this one. This is a great one. This is overrated. Songs for causes. Those hacky collaborations with a bunch of stars in the same studio? You're a singer. Leave the life and death shit to someone else. All right, that's sort of a two-part thing there. I hate songs for causes. I didn't mind the We Are the World kind of shit just because that actually seemed like there were so many people involved that no one really got the credit. But when all those rednecks were making those Let's Go to War songs and Protect the Boys, those songs were really, really fucking cheesy. What was that one? And Uncle Sam's gonna put a boot in your ass, or whatever the fuck that one was. That was just really one of the most ignorant songs I think I've ever heard. And plus, who the fuck is not gonna like a song that says, support the troops and let's go fuck up some people? I guess they've always done that, right? The Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, remember that? All right, and you said you're a singer. Leave the life and death shit to someone else. I disagree with that. I don't think just because you're in the public eye, therefore you shouldn't talk about who you vote for or you shouldn't have opinions. All right? Be honest with yourself. All right? There's every bar you walk into, there's people talking politics. They're talking life and death shit. People are sitting there going, dude, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? Right? Some fucking moron down the end of the bar, you're listening to him. You'll actually fucking wait till he's finished. You'll never call him a moron. But then all of a sudden you have a fucking hit song and you don't want to hear somebody talking about it. You know what it is? This is what it is. I should have just said this is what it is rather than go, you know what it is? All right? Like you could actually respond to me. It's the fact it's very hard to do stuff like that without coming off as preachy, and that's another thing in my act that I try to never do. I never use the word we, because I saw a comedian do it one time, and it annoyed the shit out of me. He was like, do we do this? No. We want a country where we blah, blah, blah. And I immediately was like, dude, I want to fucking choke you with the mic cord. Oh, God, just the references are just done flying out, This really is a train wreck. This is like, what was that fucking album that nut from the Beach Boys never put out? What was it called? Fucking, not Pet Sounds. They finally just put it out when he was just going nuts. This is my podcast version of this. song, that George Michael one where he was just like, I'm not going to be in the videos, darling. I'm just going to put other people in them. I want the music to stand on itself. And then his career just takes a fucking nosedive. It's like, listen, okay, even gayer Tom Cruise, if you're not fucking shaking your ass in the TV with your little fucking stupid little scruff going, nobody gives a fuck. You know? I know I didn't give a fuck as much. I was like, if I couldn't see George Michael's ass, that was a very confusing artist for me because I really liked how he sang on some songs. Like when he redid that Elton John song, he fucking destroyed it, but he was just so fucking effeminate, it just made me uncomfortable. You know? If he just said, listen, I'm gay, and I just got done blowing somebody, and I'd really love to do it again, that would destroy the tension. And he'd be like, okay, he's out in the open, then you can laugh about it, you know? He just blows somebody, and now he's singing a song. What a guy. But it's the fact that he doesn't bring it up, and now he's singing, and occasionally, you know, he does a little fucking twinkle toes move. It just makes it fucking uncomfortable and very hard to enjoy the music. All right, another thing that is underrated, a good waiter and or bartender. Just some guy's really good at his job, especially when you don't have to ask him for anything and he's right on top of it. Absolutely. Like the fucking waiters and bartenders over at Smith & Walensky. You ever want to go there and have a fucking professional waiter / bartender? I told you guys, I was over there last. It was just fucking great. You felt like you felt like you were in the Rat Pack. Everybody was dressed nice. Get married, let people know you're not a homo. Thanksgiving is overrated. A day involved with nothing but gorging yourself and watching high school and pro football. Junk food breakfast cereals, overrated. I don't know about you, but a bowl of Fruity Pebbles or Cookie Crisp is just as good when you first wake up as when you're shit-faced. You know what? I got to agree with you, but I would definitely go with Fruity Pebbles. Cookie Crisp and Captain Crunch, you know, as much as I liked them as a kid, did you ever get a mouthful of those things and when you bite down, there's like three of them. One of them turns sideways on your tongue and it misses your teeth and it hits the roof of your mouth. I mean, dude, that is a fucking pain. Like, I mean, in Guantanamo, they should do that. They should fucking put fucking Cocoa Crisp on fucking people's tongues and make them bite down and you get all the information you want. I don't like those cereals. I don't like cereals that, you know, or they get on the outside of your teeth and they go right up in between, you know, that skin that covers your teeth, whatever I guess that's called your face. Yeah, gets underneath that, you know, and just fucking drives it in there. And then that night you forget that you did it, then you're brushing your teeth, and of course the toothbrush goes off your teeth and goes right into that raw fucking place. I don't like those cereals. Fruity Pebbles I like. What else do I like? You know, Fruity Pebbles is one of the few ones. I don't get that fucking crazy with breakfast cereals. I like classics. Cheerios, Raisin Bran, Grape Nut Flakes. I like Grape Nuts. You know, and I know you think, okay, those things are so granulated, they can't cut up your fucking mouth. I really have to end this podcast. I got to apologize to you guys. This is one of the worst podcasts I've had. I've just, you know, probably 9 times during this podcast have literally just kind of come to feeling like I passed out for 3 minutes, and I know I continued talking. So I apologize for any sort of, I can't even talk, listen to me. I said any sort of instead of any sort of. All right, here we go. Let's wrap this up, Bill, and get on with it. Okay, another thing overrated. A dude who has the balls to wear fur. That is fucking hilarious. All right, here's a story. I saw a guy the other day wearing a full-length raccoon coat, and it looked so fucking badass. And the best part was that he also had the fox head scarf to go with it. Maybe want to get one of my own. You know what? That's fucking hilarious. There's not enough people out there dressed like fur trappers. You know? That's also, you know, because that's one of those things like Merry Christmas. Now it's just become taboo to wear fur, which, you know, I wouldn't wear fur, but, you know, I would never, you know, spray ketchup at somebody who was wearing I almost said pheasant. I almost said a pheasant. That really is my default animal, isn't it? God damn it. You know what? Whoever wrote that in, you got me. You got one of my ticks. If we were playing poker, you'd know exactly what my hand was. All right, one more. Overrated, underrated. Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins. is overrated. His hype of being the next one in hockey. I'm so fucking sick and tired of hearing this, albeit it's died down the past year. Hearing that he's the next Gretzky, I'm sick of hearing that he's the next Gretzky. He's not. Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like, that's not his fault, dude. That's because everyone wants someone to be the next Gretzky. You know? He's not writing the articles. That's like after Michael Jordan retired, there was a nice, you know, there's always going to be that hangover saying someone's going to be the next fucking Jordan because you want to see it, and it ain't going to happen. And I think that's it. Some quick ones. Underrated, overrated. Underrated vinyl. Overrated the compact disc. I think compact discs are underrated. You know, all you people going out there just getting your music digitally, and then what happens? Your fucking iPod dies, and you lose your entire collection. I've talked about this. You want the having the compact disc is like having the gold behind your paper money. All right? You need to back up your digital shit because it's not worth anything. Compact discs are tangible. You have them. Vinyl, definitely underrated. It definitely gets hot and sticky in the sun, but if you spill something, it's very easy to clean. And that's it. That's the Monday morning podcast for this week. I really apologize for being so fucking jet lagged. I hope I can get some sort of points for getting right off the goddamn plane and, you know, doing the podcast. Oh, Jesus Christ, listen to me. Just babbling like a fucking old woman. All right, here we go. What do I have to hype here? I'm literally taking off my hooded sweatshirt. That's how right in the door I was when I fucking started doing this podcast. I'm going to be, let me get on the fucking website here. If you're still hanging in here, I really should send you some sort of a gift. Would you like to hear another holiday song? As I fucking, I don't know the words, you know? You know my motherfucking holiday song I hate the most is Silver Bells. It's just, there's something about the tempo of that song just sucks the life out of the lower half of my body, and I just have to, you know what, it always comes on when I'm in the mall, and I really just don't want to shop anymore, and it just comes on, Silver Bells, Silver Bells, it's Christmas time. That one, and I don't like Jingle Bell Rock. I hate any sort of jazzing up. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock, pow, jingle bell time. Yeah, I fucking hate that song, and I hate that Michael Jackson Santa Claus is coming to town. I hate the way he phrases it, and I know I'm making fun of a fucking 7-year-old, and I should just be happy that he was able to go into the studio and perform that day, but I just say, Santa Claus is coming to town, whoa! Shut the fuck, just shut up, Michael. It's the 7-year-old you. Please, just shut the fuck up. I hate that song. I really hate that song. I like the classic slower ones, the Bing Crosby ones. Does anybody care? All right, I'm onto my website. What do we got here? All right, I'm in January. I'm taking a break until January. All right. January 8th? I'm already back out on the road? Wait, what's today? The 15th. There's 16 more days. 16. All right, I get 3 weeks off. What the fuck am I bitching about? Christ, there's people out there churning butter. All right, I'm going to be at the Improv in Tampa, Florida, January 8th, 9th, and 10th. Now, I haven't been there in a long fucking time, and that date's scaring the shit out of me because Florida is it's a crazy animal, man. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to sell tickets in Florida, all right? I've gone down there. I've done what I can fucking do. I know right now people around the country are like, why are you speaking in that redneck fucking southern voice? You talking about Florida? Florida isn't part of the South. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If you get out of Miami, that entire state is you know, you could film 400 seasons of Cops, Dog the Bounty Hunter, and if you ever really, you know, look at Dexter. Dexter is fucking taped down there, right? Isn't it? Miami Vice. This buddy of mine told me that. What do they have on those T-shirts down there? Florida. What do they call it? A cool place for shady people? Something like that? Hot place for shady people? It's one of those play on words. I'm not good at that shit. All right, I'm going to be at the Improv in Tampa on January 8th, 9th, and 10th. And and January 8th is the Show Your Tits show, just to let you know. That's something new that it has nothing to do with me. I'm actually against it. I don't want girls to show me their titties during my show. But it's something that the improvs are coming up with. I think it's sexist, but I don't want to cause any static. So just know that when you're showing me your tits during that show, that that wasn't my call. I don't condone it, but I was powerless to stop it. So yeah, I guess I'll go along with it. I'll sign some titties after the show. Show me a thong. I mean, whatever. I'm just there for the art. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to be at the Improv in Houston, Texas, January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. I'm really excited to go back to that one because I'm actually going to hit this guitar store out there called Southpaw Guitars. They have nothing but left-handed guitars there, and I'm going to go there and spend some money, motherfucker. After that, I'm going to be at the Wilbur Theater in Boston and the Comedy Connection in Chicopee, Massachusetts, February 6th through the 7th. And that is it. Wow. 47-minute podcast. That's how fucking jet-lagged I was. I knew I just fell asleep for like 10 minutes in the middle of it. I apologize. This is way too fucking long. Everybody, have a Merry Christmas, okay? And I mean that in a nice way. Have a Merry Christmas. Even if you're not fucking celebrating Christmas, have a fucking Merry Christmas. God damn it. It's not a bad thing. It's unreal. It's unfucking real. How did that become bad? I don't know, Bill. Why don't you fucking analyze it for another 47 minutes? All right, I'm out of here. God bless all of you. I'll talk to you next Monday. Have a great week, okay? Take it easy.
I took a deep breath, I fell down, I could not stand. Captain Arab, he started writing up some deeds. He said, we'll set up a fort right here and start buying a place with beads. Just then this cop comes down the street, crazy as a loon, and throws us all in jail for carrying harpoons. Me, I busted out, don't even ask me how. I went to get some help, I walked by a Guernsey cow who directed me down to the Bowery slums, where people carried signs around saying ban the bums. I realized right away, and I said, I hope that I'm not late, when I realized I hadn't eaten for 5 days straight. I went into a restaurant looking for the cook. I told him I was the editor of a famous etiquette book. The waitress, he was handsome, he wore a powder blue cape. I ordered some Suzette, I said, could you please make that crepe? Just then the whole kitchen exploded from boiling fat. Food was flying everywhere, I left without my hat. Now I didn't mean to be nosy, but I went into a bank to get some bail for Arab and all the boys back in the tank. They asked me for collateral, and I pulled down my pants. They threw me in the alley when up comes this girl from France, who invited me to her house. I went, but she had a friend who knocked me out and robbed my boots, and I was on the street again. Then I rapped upon a house with a U.S. flag upon display. I said, could you help me out? I got some friends down the way. The man says, get out of here, I'll tear you limb from limb. I said, you know they refused Jesus too. He said, you're not him. Get out of here before I break your bones, I ain't your pop. I decided to have him arrested, and I went looking for a cop. Well, I ran outside and I hopped inside a cab. I went out the other door, this Englishman said fab, as he saw me leap a hot dog stand in a chariot that stood parked across from a building advertising brotherhood. I ran right through the front door like a hobo sailor does, but it was just a funeral parlor and the man asked me who I was. I repeated that my friends were all in jail with a sigh. He gave me his card, he said, call me if they die. I shook his hand and said goodbye and ran out to the street. when a bowling ball came down the road and knocked me off my feet. The payphone was ringing, it just about blew my mind. When I picked it up and said hello, a foot came through the line. By this time I was fed up at trying to make a stab at bringing back some help for my friends and Captain Arab. I decided to flip a coin, like either heads or tails, would let me know if I should go back to the ship or back to jail. So I hocked my sailor suit and I got a coin to flip. It came up tails and round with sails, so I made it back to the ship. Well, I got back and took the parking ticket off the mast. I was ripping it to shreds when this Coast Guard boat went past. They asked me my name, and I said Captain Kidd. They believed me, but they wanted to know what exactly that I did. I said for the Pope of Uruk I was employed. They let me go right away, they were very paranoid. Well, the last I heard of Arab, he was stuck on a whale that was married to the deputy sheriff of the jail. But the funniest thing was when I was leaving the bay, I spied 3 ships sailing and they were all coming my way. I asked the captain what his name was and how come he didn't drive a truck. He said his name was Columbus, and I just said good luck.